Hello everyone, and welcome to round 11 of the 1970 Palma de Mallorca Interzonal tournament. It's a game Bobby Fischer with the white pieces faces Lev Polugaevsky. And as you've seen, Bobby, after nicely executing 5 wins in a row, Fischer drew 2 games, then he lost 1 game to Bent Larsen, and then again he drew 1 game in the previous round. And now he faces Lev Polugaevsky, which aside from being one of the strongest grandmasters in the world at the time, was also a really well-known opening theory specialist. So what do you do when you face an opening theory specialist? Of course, against anyone, Fischer will play e4, but for this game he decided to play c4. So it's very interesting why I don't think Fischer was actually afraid of Polugaevsky being a better specialist at the Sicilian than Fischer, as of course Polugaevsky did reply with c5 to e4, but perhaps Fischer also didn't want Polugaevsky, as he was an opening specialist, to play like really well. For example, if he went for the knight of Sicilian, and then Fischer would have to refute it and then show how to refute it. Of course, the main goal here is to challenge Spassky for the title, so perhaps he doesn't want to show just how everything is done just yet. And I didn't find a photo of this encounter in particular, but we do have one photo. I found it's from the 1966 Havana Olympiad. Here Fischer faces Boris Spassky, so it's a game some 6 years before they will face each other for the title. But for the photo challenge, who are the 2 gentlemen behind Bobby Fischer here? So best of luck to everyone. Now let's check out this game. Like we said, Fischer has the white pieces and he opens with c4. We have knight to f6, g3, c6, so the English opening is on the board. Bishop to g2 and now d5, the Caro-Kann setup against the English. We have knight to f3, bishop to f5, and here Fischer immediately challenges this bishop to f5 move with queen to b3, saying that the bishop should have remained there and the b7 pawn is now under attack. But it's a well-known line, so it's not a problem. Queen to b6, immediately going for the queen exchange. C captures on d5, queen captures, a captures, and pawn captures on d5, and knight to c3. So here Fischer's pawns on the b file are doubled, but in return he does get a semi-open file for his a1 rook. So all is well here. Knight to c6, we have d3, and here e6 by Polugaevsky. You might think d4 would be a very nice move, moving the knight from a nice square, also preventing this pawn from being pushed forward, but actually knight b5 will most likely win you the game here, as the d4 pawn is attacked twice and the knight to c7 is a threat winning the rook. So pretty much the only move that deals with both threats is rook to d8, but now you have to face knight to c7 check, and after the king moves you can simply move back, and it's a funny square for the king, you have to admit. But okay, after d3, e6 by Polugaevsky, opening up that bishop to be developed. We have castles by Fischer, bishop to e7, and now bishop to e3. Again, a funny move for the bishop, but a funny square for the bishop, but it all comes with a plan. For example, if Polugaevsky just castles here, then after knight to d4, let's say captures, the bishop is now on d4, d5 is coming, and this is basically Fischer's plan. But after bishop to e3, knight to g4, immediately Polugaevsky attacks Fischer's funny placed bishop on e3. Bishop to f4, and now comes castles. It's actually very often I will say bishop instead of Fischer for some reason. We have e4 as planned. We have pawn captures, and now bishop to g6, and here immediately e5. Again, seems like a funny move. Why would you allow this bishop to have such a nice diagonal? But it will stifle Black's position quite well, and this also opens up Fischer's light square bishop. So we have bishop to d3. Again, a very nice move by Polugaevsky. He could have just went bishop to c2 for this b3 pawn, but he wants to provoke rook to d1, and then bishop to c2 will come with tempo. In case Fischer tried to stop this by playing rook to c1 immediately and then not allow bishop to c2 to attack the b3 pawn, then bishop to c5 would have been very strong now, going after this f2 pawn. This can be defended, of course, with knight to d1, defending the pawn here and going after the bishop, and after bishop to b6, it will be a nice position to play, but Fischer has a different idea. He plays rook to d1, We have bishop to c2, now with tempo, rook d to c1 now, and only now bishop captures on b3. And here comes Fischer's idea. He temporarily gives up this pawn to have h3 now, and h3 is a very nice move because if you move the knight, and there is only one square where you can move the knight, that is h6. Of course, white can capture, but even better is knight to d2, attacking the bishop here, and after the bishop moves, you simply capture it. Knight captures, captures, and captures, and now you've won your pawn back. g4 is coming, where you would pretty much trap this knight on h6, so white would have a very nice position here. So after h3, Polugaevsky does not move the knight, rather he plays g5. We have h captures on g5, g captures on f4, and now knight to d2, attacking the bishop there. And here again a very nice move by Polugaevsky, f3. So first deciding, if you capture my bishop on b3, I will capture yours on g2. So first Fischer captures, but now comes knight captures on e5. Polugaevsky manages to grab a pawn here, and now if knight captures bishop, then knight captures bishop on f3 with check. So Fischer moves the bishop back, we have bishop to d5, and now comes knight captures on d5, pawn captures, and bishop, and first rook to c7. So Fischer doesn't grab the pawn immediately, rather he goes for activity. Now the d5 pawn is under attack, the b7 pawn is under attack, the bishop on e7 is under attack. So bishop to d8, attacking the rook, and now rook captures on b7, the d5 pawn is still under attack. Bishop to b6, and now comes the bishop captures on d5, Fischer finally grabs a pawn. But was this a mistake? Here Polugaevsky played rook a to d8, and he attacked both the bishop and the knight. If the bishop moves, Fischer loses a whole piece here. So has Fischer blundered a piece here? Feel free to pause the video here and try to find a move that that saves both of Fischer's pieces. So I will give it a couple of seconds as usual if you want to decide whether to do it. For those of you who were able to do it, congratulations for not blundering a piece, and for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, here Fischer played knight to e4. And now of course if rook captures, knight to f6 check will pick up the rook, and white wins the game here. So after knight to e4, knight captures on g4, Polugaevsky grabs the g-pawn, we have rook to d1, defending the bishop, and now comes king to g7. Here you can see that Polugaevsky's knight and bishop are eyeing the f2 pawn. The knight, Fischer's knight on e4 is defending the f2 pawn, so black would really enjoy playing f5 here. To kick away the defender of the f2 pawn, but he cannot do it as the pawn is pinned. So first king to g7, and now rook to d2. Now f5 will not be such a big deal as the rook is also guarding the f2 square. We have knight to f6, offering a trade of knights. Fischer accepts, knight captures, king captures, and now rook to d3. Either preparing to unpin the bishop with rook to f3 check, or perhaps to simply exchange rooks via rook to c4 or e4. King back to g7, and now king to g2. Now the f pawn can be pushed, and it is no longer pinned. Rook to b8, offering a trade of rooks, so rook to d7, we have rook back to d8, and now bishop to c4. Fischer really likes his rook on the 7th rank. Rook captures on d7, rook captures on d7, and king to g6 now. We have g4, preventing black from pushing f5, and also bishop to d3 will be an idea. But here comes rook to d8. Polugaevsky finds the easiest way of bringing this game to an end, giving up the f7 pawn with check, but it doesn't matter. Fischer plays bishop captures on f7, we have king to g5, and now comes rook captures on d8. Bishop captures on d8, and it was in this position that they agreed to a draw. It doesn't matter that Fischer is up a pawn. There's no way to take advantage of this as the bishops are of opposite colors. So after this pawn is defended, regardless of in what fashion, for example f3, defending the pawn, yes, you do keep the extra pawn, but after bishop to b6, there's really no way to make any progress here. You could play something like king g3, but you will never be able to push f4. For example, bishop c7 check, king moves, king to f4, now completely blocking those pawns, and after something like b3, putting the pawn on a light square, black will push h6, put his pawn on a dark square, and there's no way to take advantage of the extra pawn in this position. So yeah, after bishop to d8, Polugaevsky did give up a pawn, but it was only to secure a nice draw. So yeah, that's a game from round 11 of the 1970 Palma de Mallorca Interzonal tournament between Robert James Fischer and Lev Polugaevsky. I do hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Timon Schreiber and Michael Ippolito for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check two of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon with another game from the Bobby Fischer series. But also today is the final day of the first half of the Biel tournament, of the Biel Chess Festival. So perhaps we'll show another game from there. Thank you all, and I'll see you soon.